Hey guys, so today we're going to be going over the digestive system. Okay, so this is our first full body system that we will be looking at and kind of going step by step over the type of dissection that we would be doing in person. Okay, so as you should have learned from your notes, that the digestive system begins in the mouth. Okay, so we're going to start with what they refer to as the oral cavity, okay, which is the same thing as the mouth. And how that helps in beginning the breakdown of our food. Okay, so obviously we have our tongue. Okay, so the tongue is the first part of our body that manipulates and moves around our food. Okay, so that helps in chewing, swallowing, and just overall tasting of our food. Now, the taste buds, okay, so all these little dots that you see on the tongue, if you open your mouth and look in a mirror, you can see all the little holes or pores on your tongue that are your taste buds, okay? These are called sensory papillae, okay? These basically detect different chemicals, so they pick up different chemicals that the brain can interpret as salty, sweet, sour, or bitter. Now, when you are in front of food, you can also smell it, okay? So smelling it is through your nostrils. They can also be called nares, but the nostrils are just the two holes in your nose that allow air into your nasal cavity to help with olfactory, which means smelling sensation, and breathing, okay? So now we're going to go inside your mouth. Inside the oral cavity, this is a picture of the jaw open as much as it possibly can be. Okay, so like I said before, the tongue helps move the food around, and eventually it's what helps push the food back so that way you can swallow it. Now you have these things called different palates. Okay, so you have the hard palate. It's hard because it's made of bone. Okay, and this separates your oral cavity, so your mouth, from your nasal cavity. Okay, so right above here is your nasal cavity because this is the nose. And then this obviously is your mouth. Now the soft palate is soft because it has no bone. That is going to be back here in the mouth, okay? When we say posterior, remember we mean behind, okay? And that's just some more of your membranes within your mouth that continues with the separation, okay? So that pretty much covers the top part, okay, of your mouth. Now we have your teeth, obviously. In pigs, they're going to be a little bit different, okay, because this is a fetal pig, so its tusks haven't fully developed yet. But in humans, we do have teeth that help chew and grind and start that mechanical digestion of our food. Now you have your pharynx, okay? So your pharynx is beginning at the base of the tongue, okay? And it starts the entrance of your two different tubes in your throat. So your food can either go down your esophagus to your stomach, or you have your trachea, which is where air should go through. Now, if someone's choking, that means that the food has gone down the wrong tube. That means it's gone down your trachea. So you're choking because the air cannot flow through. And it's no bueno when you have the food going through there, okay? It blocks off your airway, and that's when you can lose air completely, and you can die from choking, obviously, if you do not get the food that's lodged in there removed. Now, we have this little flap, okay, near the back of the pharynx called the epiglottis, okay? The epiglottis is this little flap of tissue right here that you see. Now, this is what prevents food from entering into the trachea, okay? So it's kind of like a little doorway that says, yes, you can come in, or no, you can't. Now, when you choke, what happens is normally you're, laughing or talking or breathing in heavily, And that's when the epiglottis gets confused as to, wait, am I letting air in? Am I not? And so that's when food can get caught in there and you can choke. So that summarizes the mouth, and the oral cavity for our digestion. So now we're going to move on to the abdominal cavity. Okay, abdominal, that's your abdomen. Okay, so your stomach. So for your abdominal cavity, in this picture, they kind of separated it to show you. Okay, so this right here is the area that we are going to be focusing on. So these pictures coming up are going to show the steps of cutting through all of the tissue and getting to our digestive organs. So here is where we can see this kind of tissue that encapsulates and holds in all of our digestive system organs. Okay, so this is called the peritoneal membrane. The peritoneal membrane is what holds in all of your digestive system, excretory, and reproductive system organs. Okay, so it's kind of like a little bag that holds all of these organs in there. Okay, so we're going to cut through now that peritoneal membrane. This is after cutting through the skin, the fat, and the muscle. So we're going to cut through this little bag so that way we can actually see our digestive system organs. Okay, so we've cut through. You can see the membrane kind of pushed to the side. Automatically, what you're going to see is the liver. The liver is pretty freaking huge, okay? So there are different lobes for your liver. Now, your liver is what helps aid in the breakdown of fats and different toxins and poisons inside of your body. Now, obviously, here you can see all of the squiggles. Okay, that's going to be your small intestine. Your small intestine is very long and it's just kind of packed as tightly as it can be inside your abdominal cavity. Your small intestine is where most of your nutrient absorption occurs in digestion. Now, running along the top of it, you can't see most of it because it's underneath the liver, is your large intestine. Okay, now your large intestine, that is where we get a lot of our water absorption. And then that's where our food that we didn't really need becomes waste and gets stored as poop to eventually be excreted out of our body. Let's see. So now we're going to look at the gallbladder. So we kind of lifted up our liver and looking underneath. This tiny little bag looking thing here is our gallbladder. Okay, that is for that is where the bile is stored, okay, for short-term storage. So our liver makes the bile, which breaks down our food and our toxins and everything that we put inside of our body. The bile is stored in the gallbladder, which then can be released into the small intestine to help break down those fats that we are trying to absorb. So now we're going to go into removing the liver completely so that way we can see all the different parts of our digestive system. Okay, so the liver is now removed. That's where it was. Right here is the diaphragm. Now this is a very, very thin muscle that separates your thoracic cavity, which is the cavity of your body where your lungs and heart are, from your abdominal cavity. Your diaphragm helps you when it comes to breathing. When we go over the respiratory system, we'll go over that. Now here's where your esophagus enters into your stomach. Okay, so your esophagus is what sends the food from your mouth to your stomach for digestion to occur. Okay, so now we're going to look at the stomach and the spleen. Now, just like there's a little flap called the epiglottis in your throat that separates food entering the trachea and the esophagus, there's another one called the pyloric sphincter. This is a muscle that controls the movement of chyme. Okay, so chyme is what's left over of the food after it's been, chewed up, broken down, and digested, okay? That kind of is the door that allows food to continue to move on. Now we have these things called rugae inside the stomach. These are basically a whole bunch of folds that help increase the surface area of the stomach, so that way you can break down and get ready to absorb more nutrients from the food that you have taken in. Your spleen is part of your immune system, okay? This is part of your spleen right here. The spleen breaks down expired red blood cells, so red blood cells that are dying, and is part of your immune system. So when we go over that body system, we'll talk about it then. But it technically is found underneath your stomach and in your abdominal cavity. So now the rectum and the pancreas. So here, the small intestine is lifted up, the large intestine is lifted up. Okay, you can see that the large intestine continues to travel down. Okay, when it travels down, it reaches your rectum. Okay, so the rectum is the furthest most section of the large intestine, and that's where it forms and stores your feces, which is poop. Okay, now once you leave the rectum, you go out the anus. Okay, and that is where you excrete your feces. Now, your pancreas is right here, and it's normally found directly, it's kind of difficult to see here, but it's normally found directly underneath your stomach. Okay, and that produces enzymes that we use to chemically digest and break down our food. Okay, now your pancreas also produces insulin and glucagon. Okay, so what those do is they are hormones in the endocrine system that controls the level of glucose, which is sugar, in your blood. Okay? Now, when we have heard about diseases like diabetes, type 1 and type 2, that obviously has to do with issues with whether you're producing enough insulin or if you are having trouble making that insulin do what it's supposed to do and function properly within the body. Okay? So, here we start talking about umbilical arteries, but we're going to talk about that more and focus on it when we go over the circulatory system. So now we have these things called mesenteries. Okay, mesenteries are just very thin sheets of tissue, okay, that continue throughout the peritoneum. Okay, and they basically help support and suspend your organs in your digestive system. Okay, so the reason that your digestive system organs are able to fully just kind of hang there or be present in your body and attached is because of the mesentery. Now you can see that they're kind of really dark purple. Okay, that's because they have a lot of blood access, because they have to be able to transport that blood to and from your small intestine. Okay, your small intestine is very long, so you need a lot of arteries and veins to be able to transport your blood. So now that's basically the breakdown in a simple form of your digestive system. Okay, so go ahead and take your digestive system dissection quiz, and then you're going to come on back so that way we can go over our excretory system. Okay, bye guys.